Oh. Can anyone spell total shit show? English is not my mum's tongue, but I think I can. TOTALSHITSHOW. Where to begin? Well, firstly, I've been trying to make this ranty for, since January. But some of us are busy. Some of us are actually even more busy with this silly pandemic panic going on, and not all of us are in quarantine, self-imposed or imposed by somebody else. Well, I guess firstly, there was no winter in southern Finland, and I promise you there should have been a winter in southern Finland. There's always been a winter in southern Finland. We had perpetual fall, and I guess one can ask Australians or New Zealanders, how do you like the climate now? So I guess that's the first thing. Okay, it's here. Total ecological disaster. And I guess on that note, the main point to be made is that still absolutely nothing is being done about it. Again, all I don't know, but there isn't a strong enough word. All the ecological, again, destruction, annihilation, devastation is being done by again, 71% of it is being perpetrated by 100 private companies. And again, at this point, one has to point out that corporations are not capitalism. Capitalism is about small businesses. And immediately, if something is a corporation, it's actually not capitalism anymore. You can check this out. It's very interesting. Capitalism is about small businesses that are owned by one person or one family. Immediately, if you have stocks, if you have corporations, it's not capitalism. Yeah, just a little side note. So again, in under any system that anyone at the moment is even rooting for, these bastards should not exist. Corporations should not exist. Not in socialism, not in capitalism, not in anything else. Except, of course, with the effed up system that we have at the moment. That should never have become. Perhaps that wasn't become. Well, leave it. And armies. So again, you can, I don't know how to put it in English. Is it exploit in English as well? But again, it's a mathematical process. You can pretty much deduce that, let's say, 99.9999999% of the ecological destruction is being done by private corporations, and again, private. It's very interesting. They're actually not private. They're public. Again, you can check this out. If something is not owned just by one person or one family, it's actually public. Anything that has stocks and has, you know, more people owning the company, it's actually public. It's very funny. So these are not actually private corporations. They are actually crooked public corporations. So anyway, all of them. Boeing, you know, take anyone you want. So anyway, and armies. You know, it doesn't matter. Again, it's okay for you to recycle. And I don't know, probably not drive because if I understand correctly, even electric vehicles, you know, you know, how the electricity is produced, and you know, the battery technology so far and so on, they're actually just as bad as any what is it again in English? Burning of carbon. Well, anyway, any traditional vehicle. You know, it's quite fine for you to you know, to live ecologically, but you are not the problem. Private companies and armies, or again, crooked public companies and armies are the problem. And no one has done anything to curb them. None whatsoever. They're doing as fatly as ever and destroying the planet as ruthlessly, or even if not more so than they ever have. So I guess that's the first point. End of the world is coming, and nobody is doing anything about it. Well, then at this point, I guess I have to point out about the Brit election. Again, as I said beforehand, the Brits had a choice between the best possible and the worst possible. They very clearly, and of course again they were manipulated and so on, but they, you know, as ignorant, stupid people, they chose the worst possible option. So what can one say? You know, it's you know, you asked for it, dear British people, now you're gonna get it. And if I understand correctly, you've already gotten some of it by now. Yeah, if you're stupid, ignorant, you know, you pay the price, always. And I must point out that this point, again, like with the British election, I have nothing riding on this. Again, I have lived my life exactly as I wanted. I've been very happy. I'm you know, I'm extremely healthy. I'm not afraid of dying. I'm not afraid of even dying painfully. I don't enjoy the idea, but I'm not afraid of it. So, to quote a Kevin Spacey character, and again, what a bastard he turned out to be in real life. Sick bastard. So sorry to all his fans. But I have nothing vested in this. Not a good movie, but a nice line. Several nice lines in it, as well, actually. You know, my objections to everything in Finland, in Great Britain, in the United States, that, you know, are purely philosophical. I hate stupidity. I hate futility. It's annoying that we are all going to be destroyed simply because people have been too selfish and haven't paid any blooming attention to anything. Annoying, intellectually annoying. Well, anyway, then in what order to go? Well, let's go to the US presidential election, which of course was, you know, the fate of humanity possibly was riding on it because it might have been too late. But I said very clearly beforehand that if Bernie Sanders isn't the next president of the United States, it's good night Irene for the world, you know, for mankind. So now, good night, Irene. And I guess the main thing why I must do this little ranty is because no one seems to have their eye on the ball at any point. And I haven't seen anyone say this. And that's the thing. Maybe again, it's totally futile. Nobody sees my rants, and they don't affect anything, and it doesn't. It's completely useless exercise. But almost every time I try to say something, I seem always to have some point that no one else has made. So firstly, of course, I have to say to the so-called lefties in the United States, you're idiots. And again, so-called lefties, because apart from somebody like Richard Wolff, there really aren't any lefties. They're left-leaning centrists. All of them so-called progressives in the United States. And again, no idea what capitalism really is. Utter idiots. But firstly, I have to comment on Sanders himself, because he's from the almost very start, somebody has been, somebody from so-called left has been criticizing him, and again, unbelievable. I must say, again, I've said this so many times before. I mean, Bernie Sanders is a historic figure. I have never seen in any sort of position of power or in political position such a decent human being. I mean, he's the most decent human being I've ever seen in public office anywhere, and ever read about anyone. Everybody, they've ever venerated, from Winston Churchill onward, complete bastards, all of them. Bernie Sanders is absolutely one of a kind. And he could not in any way have done anything different than he has done. And it's so interesting that people, again, mostly in the US left, they seem to long for some sort of decency and some sort of human behavior. And yet continuously they've been demanding Bernie Sanders not to be decent. It's sort of fantasy that you could fight dirty and aggressively and be uncivil during the election, and somehow as a political figure somehow go back when you get to power. No matter how, it doesn't matter how dirty you fight to get there. Then you make it all. No, that's not how we work, we human beings. You either are decent, and you are always decent in every situation, or you're not. And if Sanders would have been more aggressive, all this time, and would have attacked the neoliberals and the media and so on, and would have fought, that's the kind of person he would have been when he gets to power. Again, total, ridiculous ignorance of I don't know, humanity. Bernie Sanders did nothing wrong at any point. And, during this primary season, the absolute highlight of the primary season was the moment when somebody asked, it was Amy Klobuchar, I think, who answered the question, how does she like Bernie? Does she hate Bernie? Or something like that. And she said, a rare moment of honesty, I have nothing against Bernie. And, Joe Biden put his arm around. That's what it's all about. You represent the right things. You're a decent person. And your colleagues really, they don't mind you. And then you either win or you don't on the issues, depending how stupid, ignorant, misled is the public. And I must point out that the public was not as misled as you might think. It was exactly the same thing as it was 4 years ago. He was cheated. Bernie Sanders was cheated. He won for bull. So anyway, yeah, the arch bastard that is Barack Obama, the utter fuckface that he is. Yes, he did his thing behind the scenes, and created, again, with the help of the media, the environment where Sanders could be cheated. And again, I mean, Obama, it is impossible to describe what a bastard he is. People like Mitch McConnell or Benjamin Netanyahu, they have, it would seem that they are greedy. And they seem to have the fact that they are the architects of all things bad. You can find, a material motive with Obama. And again, if you don't know the guy, all right, let's take just a few of his billion sins. Of course, he campaigned as a progressive. And when he got to power, he betrayed everything that he was talking about. And again, as somebody has pointed out, he actually wasn't. It was actually the campaign that made him out to be something that he wasn't. But still, he fed into it. And some of his speeches are very interesting during that time. He betrayed absolutely everything that he talked about. So that's, I guess, the greatest sin, isn't it? But then again, Tom Perez was not supposed to be the head of the Democratic Party. And it was Obama who cheated him in. And again, Tom Perez is the one, has been, running the show in the DNC. And, again, one part of how Sanders could be cheated. But after all the horrible things that Obama did, again, oh dear. But again, to him, unlike Mitch McConnell or Benjamin Netanyahu or anyone you can think of, Tayyip Erdogan, it doesn't seem to be, it seems to be just a vanity project. It's absolutely unbelievable that somebody facilitates the destruction of mankind. Again, he's been, together with the Clintons, of course, and somebody like Tony Blair, but, again, it's the United States where it's all, it's the modern Rome that it's all about. Obama, he has been the villain in the left, while, of course, the villains on the right are, clearly to be seen. And again, the power of media. It is absolutely unbelievable that someone can be such a total motherfucker as Barack Obama is and be popular. That your average person, almost all around the Western world, does not understand what the utter bastard has done to them. I don't know. But let's go to cheating. Okay, math does not lie. It did not lie in 2016, and it did not lie 2020. And it's absolutely unbelievable. Again, I don't know why people follow, mainstream media, because it does not give you any information whatsoever about anything. But, just a little tidbit. Jimmy Carter. He has said, more than clearly that his organization would never monitor the US elections because the US elections are not honest. There's no real person, no expert that has ever suggested that the United States elections or primaries, that they were somehow legal, that they were somehow honest. And it's absolutely outrageous that you have, again, it's a public company that is called a private company because we have an effed up system. But one company, I guess, now running the exit polls. But anyway, math still does not lie. Sanders won on Super Tuesday by a landslide. But he was cheated. And again, the numbers prove it. And again, of course, the lefties, in the United States, or so-called lefties, I mean, they're totally useless. On the very first day, I think, Cenk Uygur declared proudly that there was no fraud in the primaries, we lost, so to speak, the progressives. No, you didn't! And yes, there was! Massive fraud! Total cheating! And math does not lie. We would not be here. We would not have all this technological progress. We would have pretty much no civilization whatever if math lied. And you can look at the numbers. Sanders was way ahead in all of the polls. In exit polls, he won. And then you have, silly voting machines that has absolutely, that have no, paper trail where you can press a button, you want to vote for someone, and your vote goes to someone else. And you have exit polls that tell you that your vote has gone to someone else. Again, let's see. And of course then you have voter suppression and so on, which is what it was again all about in California. But again, take the most easy examples. Sanders won California, in reality, in a landslide. No one else got, no representatives from California in actuality. Sanders won Texas by a wide margin. He won Massachusetts, of course. And one would have to, again, I'm not really interested because I was utterly shocked that the Bernie Sanders people, again, not Bernie Sanders himself, he cannot say anything. He cannot say cheating. Again, I thought he should have actually in 2016. He should have cried bloody murder and run third party. And he would have won, he would have beaten both Clinton and Trump handily. But again, he's a decent man. I understand totally why he didn't do it. Again, for the sake of the world, I wish he would have, found some higher purpose so that he would have run third party in 2016, and the world would be a very, very, very different place. And I've said this so many times before. It's not just about Bernie Sanders. Everybody. Again, everybody's concentrated on just one man. It would have been the Sanders administration, the people who came in to the government, actual competent people, actual people who should be in their secretarial, in most of the rest of the world, ministerial positions. People who are actually competent, a defense secretary who is actually interested in peace and knows something about it. education secretary who actually, who has been a teacher in a public school and actually, cares about education. Somebody who has read a book. You can just, again, extrapolate, or if that's the word, from there. An actual government that does not only have competent people, which some neoliberal governments have had, been in the United States as well, but actual good people, actual people who are right about their, particular field of expertise. It's not just about Bernie Sanders, who would have been, again, the perfect president because he's one of the most decent, he is the most decent person I personally have ever witnessed in any public office. It's about the government. But anyway, and Iowa this year, it seemed to show that the people around him, again, he cannot say it, but the people around him knew what this was all about. They were, again, they won Iowa handily. They were royally cheated. But since it was a caucus, the cheating will have to be made differently. It's not as easy as it is in a let's say caucuses, and is it primary then? I can't remember the other word. But anyway, it's not. It's much more difficult to cheat in caucuses. So that's why they couldn't have him totally lose. But it seemed that the people around Sanders were on the ball this time. I mean, they had only one job to do, to call out the massive election fraud. And how utterly, totally, stupendously they failed on Super Tuesday. Not Sanders. The people around him. All of them. They had one job to do. Call out and fight against the election fraud. I don't know what else to say. I was utterly convinced that Sanders was going to be the next president of the United States, and mankind would actually have a shot at it, so to speak. Again, now I sound like everybody else when I say that the utter incompetence of the Bernie Sanders people. But again, I mean it from a completely different angle than anyone else I've heard. But I was utterly bowled over on Super Tuesday. How the fuck did they not know what it was all about? And again, you had all the numbers to prove it. Even with a completely rigged system, meaning, that there's not proper exit polls and no... I mean... But anyway, it's good night, Irene. And we're halfway there. Not just with the... Again, it's going to be very interesting now, the summer in Europe and, in that area. I mean, it's going to be pretty hot. It's going to be pretty uncomfortable. And let's see what all the, mainstream media driven, panicking, ignorant, people are going to do then. Because again, with this joke of a pandemic, I mean, again, the fact that the mainstream media, again, in a private ownership, not meant in any way to give people information, to civilize them or, give them knowledge, in no way, just a way to entertain the masses. Even if it wasn't, and again, one would think that since you know, the world economy is not doing so hot because of this, because of the pandemic, one would think that actually the, you know, again, the 1%, they probably didn't want this, but again, the system, the fact that the, you know, that the mainstream media is not to give you any information, it's just giving you feelings, it's just entertainment. Of course, in this case, you know, it's all, you know, it doesn't matter if it's the original purpose, but of course, if you're going to have a pandemic, all they're going to do is to scaremonger. All they're going to do is to tell where it is now, so that you can, you know, again, it's a suspense film. They're going to tell you where it is now, and how many people have died. They're going to tell you individual stories of individual people whose lives have been destroyed, and, you know, magnify those people who happen to lose almost all of their family, or, you know, 3 family members and so on. You know, not counting all the hundreds of millions who didn't. They're going to make stories about, you know, empty cities and mass graves and garbage containers stored in front of hospitals ready to receive the bodies and so on. Complete and utter fearmongering, totally relieved of any sort of fact. Where did it come from? What's the 3% that, you know, of the genome that no one can explain? That it's a biological weapon, and by whom and why, and was it an accident, or is it on purpose, and did you know, was it someone else, for example the United States, who planted it in Wuhan during the whatever army Olympics there were, you know, just a little before the outbreak coming? Did it actually start in the United States long before anything came out in Wuhan? What is this all about, you know, that you have so many different strains of it? I mean, is it just mutating because it has, you know, it has some properties of HIV virus? Is it just itself mutating, like, you know, like the biological weapon it is? Or did the Israelis actually, you know, saw their chance and released another strain to Iran? You know, this sort of all this thing, you know, actual information, actual investigative journalism. None whatsoever, of course. Pure fear-mongering and pure emotion. No sense anywhere to be seen. Oh, and I don't know how to, because again, there doesn't seem to be any sense in anything anymore. Let's say I was very shocked when George Monbiot, who is totally correct when he talked about the UK, how wrong he was about Finland. He actually dared to say that, well, you know, the British, you know, elected Boris Johnson. Good Lord. And again, the leaders we have the leaders all around the world at the moment. You know, we're ripe for destruction, you know. Johnson and Trump and Erdogan and Duterte and Bolsonaro. I mean, what a gallery of crude villains. I mean, just horrid. But again, that British elected Johnson, and while they did that, the Finns elected a young woman. Talking about our Prime Minister Sanna Marin. The Finns did not elect her. The party did, and it was a complete toss-up. It might have been, you know, a youngish guy who's a horror story. You know, the party happened to choose her after the actual elected Prime Minister was an older guy was ousted by a non-scandal, facilitated by, actually started by right-wing trolls. Finland actually just moved to the, pre-truth era. It was a total disaster. But in a way, it dodged the bullet. It actually got saved because suddenly, by accident, a young woman who the right way, they have a hard time trying to manufacture anything against her. Just happened to land the position of Prime Minister. But it has nothing to do with Finnish wisdom or Finnish choosing or something. The Finns, they are just as ignorant, stupid, suicidal as the British or the United States are. And it's utterly amazing that Monbiot can be so right about the UK, and in so many things. And so totally clueless about Finland. Which of course gives one the idea that there's no one who knows. And again, even dear darling Noam Chomsky, who must be the smartest man alive, even he's wrong about the Finnish education system. It was good, something like 30 years ago, before neoliberalism came to Finland. That's when the Finnish education system was good. It's total rubbish now. And so is the healthcare system in Finland and anywhere else. We had a welfare state. Neoliberalism has destroyed it a long time ago. So again, when everybody keeps talking about the Canadian healthcare system or the Swedish healthcare system or the Danish healthcare system or the Finnish healthcare system, what they should be talking about was 30 years ago, what it was, when it actually worked before neoliberalism. We're actually, in Finland, we're going backwards. We're going towards the United States. Just when some people there are, saying that they should take the Scandinavian model and should come towards us. Again, nobody knows anything. It's an utter shit show. But anyway, with this pandemic, again, let's say there's I don't know, there's something like, there's a 1% chance that it's not a biological weapon. But again, there is a 1% chance that Jeffrey Epstein was not killed. Another interesting, again, this is something that everybody else could say as well. There was one person in the world who they should not have been able to rub out. And that was Jeffrey Epstein. And they did. And because the world is so crazy, almost everybody forgot about it within few weeks. If Kennedy had been assassinated, today, there would be no hullabaloo. Everybody would forget that in 2 months. No. Let's say 2 weeks. So anyway, it's absolutely astounding that the one guy who could have snitched on pretty much most of the elite, totally corrupt, perverted elite of the world, that they were just able to rub him out. One would again never have believed that they could get away with it. But nothing makes any sense anymore. Because, again, no one cares. Ordinary people. Again, the ordinary people, they have the power. Again, as so many people have pointed out. The ordinary people would have the power to do anything and change anything, everything, if they just wouldn't be so ignorant and so selfish and so concentrated on their own lives, own little pathetic lives, their careers and their own children and friends and their dogs and cars and mortgages. Pathetic. And again, when the end of the, human civilization comes, you know, and somebody's going to be crying, you know, why is this happening to me? What have I done? What you've done is you've been stupid. You've been ignorant. You have not cared a crap worth. That's why it's happening to you. It's totally your fault. Utterly your fault. But anyway, yeah, again, it's a bioweapon, and overall, again, there seem to be a strain, and again, since the media is not, mainstream media is not doing its job, and I don't have the time to look for all the, all the relevant information myself. I'm not the last American vagabond. I don't know. For example, Italy, did it actually, again, 35 US bioweapon laboratories all over the world, and these are the ones that they've actually admitted to. How many there really are, I don't know. Has anyone done anything about that? About those, the United States bioweapon laboratories or anyone else's? No, they haven't done anything about them, like they haven't about the armies or the, or the giant corporations who are destroying the planet. Nobody has done anything to do any, to stop anything. But again, did the the strain of Corona in Italy, did it, because there was a US bioweapons laboratory on the area where it started and they couldn't find patient, I can't remember, is it patient, in English, is it patient 0 or patient 1? Or again, was it, just a sideshow, so to speak, that they're genetically so close to the Persians or Iranians nowadays that when, if it was Israel that actually attacked Iran, that that the poor Italians just became, side sufferers. Okay, but anyway, there are countries that have been devastated by one strain of the virus. But overall in the world, and I mean the data is just coming out, as again, if I would have done a video, as I would have said before, and I can find witnesses that I've said it, even though I haven't made a video, I've said it all the time, that this is a, so to speak, made up panic. And, and the casualties in civilized world, they are coming because of neoliberalism, because the healthcare system isn't working. And nobody has been taking any care of old people or other risk groups, because all the resources of modern societies have been going to the 1%. That's where most of the casualties are coming from. But basically, it's just an, really, really, really bad flu. It's the worst flu ever. But it is still, it's just a potent flu. This time. So, all the panic is useless. And one doesn't know if there are any, they are going to be interesting, I don't know, outcomes with the panic. I mean, one would guess that in the Western world, so many people have been laid off, and people have to be quarantined and so on, and actually have to spend time with their families. And so I guess the divorce rates are going to go drastically up, I think. And there are so many things that you may again extrapolate, may think, that some good might come out of it. I'm very afraid that it will not make people any wiser, because now people might actually have a chance to see that you could live your life. I guess Lee Camp put it really well. Of course he's doing comedy, so he's overdoing it a little bit, but he had many nice points about actually learning that that you can actually live in a very different way than you have been programmed to. But anyway, it really changes nothing. It was Bernie or bust, and now it's bust, and absolutely no hope for the world. Doesn't matter even if you know, most people would come out of this silly fake pandemic much wiser. It's going to be too late. But again, as an intellectual exercise, since it is an obvious bioweapon, and this time it was probably accident originally that it got out, and it wasn't. I mean, again, it's very interesting. It's an interesting virus, and there probably is not going to be a vaccine. We're just going to have a new, more dangerous influenza going around. You know, it's going to stay with us until, you know, the end that is coming pretty soon. But again, as a philosophical exercise, what are you going to do to prevent this happening again? Is anyone doing anything about, you know, all the, you know, biological plans of warfare and all the bioweapon manufacturers and laboratories all over the world? And it's absolutely staggering that the US can have, you know, officially 35 of them, you know, many of them in other countries, or I don't know, perhaps most of them in other countries. It's utterly staggering. But, I mean, do you really think that the next one, and again, this might have been planned because of the, you know, the conference with the Gates Foundation and so on, and they happen to call it Corona and so on. Try and get some information. But you know, if this was an accident, and this time it was, you know, again, reasonably harmless, and I'm not trying to play down. No one can claim that I wouldn't have tried my best to warn people and to talk sense and humanity and so on. I am so sorry for everyone who is suffering and who has lost a loved one and so on. I mean, you know, I'm not trying to be heartless here. I am so sorry for everyone whose lives have been destroyed by this. But anyway, it was this time on, you know, put into proportion, harmless. How about the next one? Next time, you know, the death toll can be 70% or something. Again, could be if mankind weren't to be destroyed in ecological disaster long before that, and nuclear war, which is a result of most of the, you know, 1/3 or even more of the human population not being able to live in a certain area and trying to move to other countries which will not have, you know, have it, and the societal order is going to break down and blah 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 blah. But you know, if there were some sort of a future, you know, the next one is not going to be this nice. And all of the you know things that may result from this is very interesting to see what the mainstream media is going to go completely out of hand. I mean, are we going to have this sort of a panic about ordinary flu as well? Because again, if you use the same template on a bad flu season, you're going to have so many dead people and so many people suffering, and you know, you can get these same kinds of news out of a bad flu season. So is going to be a total panic mode until, you know, the very quick end of mankind? I don't know. It's again an interesting philosophical thought. But the fact all around is that nothing has been done about anything. It's not my fault. I can't do anything. I'm so sorry. I'm just so sorry. Okay, you had massive election fraud in the United States in 2016. Did, someone learn anything about it? That they wouldn't have been able to cheat Bernie Sanders this time? No. No lessons learned. We're in the middle of an ecological disaster. Has anyone done anything about it? Absolutely nothing. We have a horrible biological weapon accident, most likely an accident, causing a worldwide pandemic. Is anyone doing anything so that it wouldn't happen again? No, absolutely nothing. Again, ordinary people, they have absolutely no information whatsoever. One may again point out that the idea of democracy as a concept is that the people voting are knowledgeable and they have all the necessary information with which to make informed choices in elections. I mean, we have nothing of the sort in any country in the world. People are totally ignorant, totally uninformed about absolutely everything. What can I do? Again, I'm hoping that, that when, that there is a way, when mankind is destroyed, that all the information, for example, in the Indians is shot into space, and by an off chance that some alien race one day, discovers all this, perhaps some living creature somewhere again can see this and can deduce that not everybody was a complete idiot on that planet long time ago. But again, that's just a funny thought. Otherwise, I'm just venting out because I can. There are so many nice things about modern times, like like microphones and cameras. I can do this. And again, I'm so fine. I've never been so busy in my life. Pretty happy. Some tragedy in my personal life, but still, even that was bitter. Or in my love life. But even that was, much better than not having a love life. I have absolutely nothing to complain about. How about you? Have you lived your life the way you want to? And if the world is going to be destroyed very soon, or the human civilization, I mean, are you prepared? Have you wasted your life? So I guess that's the end note. I have no idea when I'm going to rant again. I don't know. Whenever, if at some point I feel that I can somehow help, I guess I'll rant again. But otherwise, I mean, I cannot stress this strongly enough. This old cliche, carpe diem. Please do seize the day. Now is your pretty much last chance to live your life the way you want. And again, nobody's going to see this, but I'm going to give a good, the best advice I can give. Please enjoy life while it lasts. Please use your mind, your brains, and make the right choices for you. And of course, as always, besides giving my condolences to all the people who are suffering and dying needlessly. But after that, saying Good luck to everyone, whoever sees this. Take care. All the best. Luck.